For more debates, updates and bonus content, sign up at thebigconversation.show.
Well, I think the roots of my change of mind really happened when I was at school. When I was studying sciences as an atheist, very, very clear, science entails atheism. And then, knowing I was going up to Oxford to study chemistry, having some time at my disposal, I thought I'd read the literature about the history and philosophy of science, which up to that point I'd ignored. And after reading it, you began to realize that the kind of scientific positivism I'd imbibed, science proves everything, it's absolutely secure knowledge, actually was rather more complicated than that. And so I began to realize, look, the history of science is saying this is what people used to think, now they think this. And you began to just get this idea that maybe this is what we think now, but what are we going to think in 50 years' time? How can we be secure? Because it's a moving landscape. Didn't convert me or anything, but it did make me think this is rather more complicated than I'd been told. And I think in many ways that probably was the end of my love affair with atheism, because I felt it was hopelessly simplistic, or at least the forms I knew. And I think that really what drew me to Christianity was this deep sense that actually it offered me, if I put it like this, a bigger picture of things, a way of making sense of myself, of our world, and also providing conceptual space for science. In other words, I continue to love science and feeling that this was something that really mattered, but having a sort of framework into which I could fit it. So I'm not in any way hostile towards atheism, but I do feel that kind of where there are questions one wants to have in discussion, which is why I think tonight's conversation could be very interesting.
Good. You've obviously done a lot of work in recent years engaging atheism, the new atheism particularly, of people like Dawkins and Dennett and Hitchens and co. Do you feel like, in the decade or more since books like The God Delusion came out, we're any further along in this conversation, that people are more willing to look at things from your perspective and that sort of thing?
Well, I don't know whether people want to look at it from my perspective or not, but I think what there was this feeling that actually it's just not that simple, that there has to be something better than this. And I think we could say that the new atheism is waning and something else seems to be coming in its place. But I would be hesitant to say what that something else is, because I can see various possibilities. What I do think is that the new atheism is a very good example of the law of unintended consequences. Because in effect, a movement that wanted to shut down the discussion about religion has actually opened it up. And I think that is quite remarkable in many ways. I think people like the questions that are being asked, but weren't sure about the answers being given, and the questions are still there on the table, which is why we're having this conversation.